Well, hello. We're in Deuteronomy, we're in chapter 22, and we're going to do the second half of it. And in the NIV, it's entitled Marriage Violations. And I'm not going to be able to comment on absolutely everything, because I can't explain absolutely everything in it, but hopefully try and bring some useful points out from it. Anyway, let's read it. It's the best place to start. Reading from the NIV. If a man takes a wife, and after sleeping with her dislikes her, and slanders her, and gives her a bad name, saying, I married this woman, when I approached her I did not find proof of her virginity, then the young woman's father and mother shall bring to the town elders at the gate proof that she was a virgin. Her father shall say to the elders, I gave my daughter in marriage to this man, but he dislikes her. Now he has slandered her and said, I did not find your daughter to be a virgin, and here is the proof of my daughter's virginity. Then a parent shall display the cloth before the elders of the town, and the elders shall take the man and punish him. They shall fine him 100 shekels of silver, and give them to the young woman's father, because this man has given an Israelite virgin a bad name. She shall continue to be his wife. He must not divorce her as long as he lives. If, however, the charge is true, no proof of the young woman's virginity can be found, she shall be brought to the door of her father's house, and there the men of the town shall stone her to death. She has done an outrageous thing in Israel by being promiscuous while still in her father's house. You must purge the evil from among you. If a man is found sleeping with another man's wife, both the man who slept with her and the woman must die. You must purge the evil from Israel. If a man happens to meet in a town a virgin pledged to be married and he sleeps with her, you shall take both of them to the gate of the town of that town and stone them to death. The young woman because she was in the town and did not scream for help, and the man because he violated another man's wife. You must purge the evil from among you. But if out in the country a man happens to meet a young woman pledged to be married and rapes her, only the man who has done this shall die. Do nothing to the woman. She has committed no sin deserving death. This case is like that of someone who attacks and murders a neighbour. For the man found the young woman out in the country, and though the betrothed woman screamed, there is no one there to rescue her. If a man happens to meet a virgin who is not pledged to be married and rapes her, and they are discovered, he shall pay her father 50 shekels of silver. He must marry the young woman, for he violated her. He can never divorce her as long as he lives. A man is not to marry his father's wife. He must not dishonour his father's bed. Right. Well, reading this, there'll be some things, it's a whole attitude to sexual immorality and sexual matters. It's very different from our societies. And then there are also social things as well which jar against the way our society works. But let's try and, I'm not going to hold a complete understanding of everything in there, but I don't understand everything myself. But hopefully some useful points. The first one is, two things related. First of all, sexual immorality is utterly destructive. That's why it keeps saying you must purge the evil from among you. Sexual immorality is destructive. Sex was created by God for marriage between one man and one woman. Within that context, it is constructive. It is a positive thing. Out with that context, in any way whatsoever, it is destructive. Destructive to those involved, destructive to society as a whole. And then, it's very clear from all this as well that sex before marriage is a sin. It is wrong. Again, it is destructive. I was listening to it's on Premier Radio, a program called Unbelievable, and a number of years ago, I listened to it now, and there was a supposed evangelical woman on there saying, the Bible's unclear about whether sex before marriage is wrong. No, it isn't. Read it. And we said, well, then our society, hardly anyone listens to that anymore or follows that way. Well, that doesn't mean it's right, does it? And Our society's approach to sex is not having a good effect. We are far better following the Bible's way. Now, what happens if we've sinned? Well, repentance and forgiveness work in all situations. But anyway, let's look at it a bit more. First of all, we get at the start here. So this man marries someone or claims she isn't a virgin. Now, if his claim is proved to be a load of rubbish, and he's just changed his mind and fancied what didn't want her anymore, then he has to pay a penalty. Now, let's have a look here. The two things. First of all, that the woman, if she was actually guilty. She wasn't a virgin. She gets stoned. And that is clearly a much harsher treatment than the man gets if he's been lying. Now, why is the difference? Well, one very practical point is you cannot prove whether or not the man was a virgin before getting married. Then there is the issue of, he must continue to be married to this woman. And I think, well, the woman doesn't want to be married to this man, this scoundrel that he's proven himself to be. Well, there's a very different approach to marriage. We tend to look at it purely or largely from a romantic point of view. If you're looking in the law and stuff that's in Deuteronomy and elsewhere in the early chapters of the Bible, it's looked at a much more practical level. And in reality, we need both. The Bible is not averse to romance. Perhaps a prime example of that is Song of Songs. But it also, marriage is a practical issue as well. You need romance and you need the practicalities of life. If you get married, you'll very soon find you need the practicalities. And you'll also find in a good marriage that the practicalities are one of the greatest blessings that comes from marriage. And what else have we got? Oh, we've got the bit about rape. And again, well, first of all, the Bible, you often hear reports that the conviction rate for rapes is so low, it's too low. And that may well be true, but it seems to ignore the fact that proving rape is extremely difficult. By the nature of the issue, it's just difficult to prove. And if you go to someone say, always listen to them. Well, you should always listen to the woman, always believe the woman. That's an idiotic approach to take, to always believe the woman. Claims should always be treated seriously and properly, but you don't automatically believe the woman unless the evidence supports her. But here gives a very practical approach. It says very much, if it takes place in the city, in the town, then the woman's guilty, as well as the man. And in the society of those times, it's not like our age where towns can be very anonymous. She would have every opportunity to scream for help. It says, but it takes place in the country, she doesn't have to provide any proof that she screamed for help. The woman is assumed to be innocent. So in that sense, it's... If you just look at the Bible, it's always misogynistic, it always supports the man. That is nonsense. It's not supported by the evidence in the Bible. So, that's just a few thoughts on this, and I've gone on quite long enough, and I'd be happy to move on to another chapter. So we'll stop there.